My name is Nan Bailey. I have the Nan Bailey Show on Facebook, and I'm with WHPR, the Gospel Explosion, on Fridays at 11 a.m.
My name is Georgia Cole. I work with Victory Outreach International and also currently as a domestic violence advocate for the UAC, the Urban Advocacy Corporation through AmeriCorps.
My name is Elisa Rencher McLaughlin. The name of my nonprofit is Healing Hearts Inc. I was introduced to Sara's house from a friend, Harold and Ross.
Hello, my name is Shakreese Miles of Transition 123. I am the CEO and the founder. We have been established for over 13 years now.
Growing up as a child, my father was a pastor, mother, first lady of the church. And my encounter came when I was around 17. Met a nice, handsome man. He's really handsome, really nice. He was older, and that was my first encounter with it.
My first encounter with domestic violence was with my children's father, and at the time I didn't realize it was domestic violence. It really was more like a situation. So at that time I didn't give it a title of domestic violence at all.
I met him. It was kind of a secretive relationship because he was older. I knew that my parents wouldn't approve. I actually knew that it was wrong, but the excitement of being with an older man who showed interest in me, showered me with gifts, things like that, was just appealing. You know, I was a church girl, just wanted to find out a little bit more about the worldly life, and that's how I got involved with him.
My first time is very clear because I was a child. I was around 11 years old, and my mom was being abused, was being beaten. And I remember standing outside, running outside, trying to pull my mom and to help her, and feeling so helpless and just thinking, I wish someone would help. And no one came to help. And I remember just a feeling of helplessness. And I remember at the end of the day thinking to myself and watching her cry. She was so broken that this had happened to her that I wish I could have protected her. I wish there was something that I could have done, or somebody would have came to her rescue. And I vow that that would never happen to me.
Well, way back, I experienced like with your mother and your father, seeing them argue, them fighting, and you think that that's love. But then you grew up, you say that you would not want to be in that situation, and then I ended up being in a situation with someone that I truly thought that they loved me, and working with them, helping them, being the woman of the house, and they're out there doing what they want to do as far as anything, and then it comes on first with the pushing and the shoving, and then you like, oh wow, what is this? And then the arguments come on, then the hitting come on, and then you say, we'll sit down, you say I'm sorry, but then you say no, let's go get counseling. Then that doesn't work, and then it will become a worse situation.
We kept it secret for about 3 years. I kept it secret for about 3 years. I did everything in my power. I kept it secret. I would have him call the house under an assumed name, never used his real name. And my mother, had been asking me for quite some time, well, when are we going to meet this young man? He calls, quite often. Oh, he's just a friend, somebody I know. And I worked a lot and I went to school as well. So, they didn't really pressure me a lot about it. So I was able to, hide a lot what was going on with the relationship.
Oh, at the beginning, it was loving, giving, supportive, and I just, at the time, maybe something transpired in his life that started to affect my life. So, and up to this day, we kind of like still friends, but at that time, I didn't adapt to abuse, so I didn't know at that moment that I was in an abusive situation.
Well, the bad part is that I graduated from business school, and when I graduated, I was passing out my business cards to like everybody, and then he had a attitude. It's like, why are you passing business cards out to men? I'm like, no, I'm passing out to women as well, because when you first become a new business, you gotta let people know who you are, what type of business do you have, and that's all he seen was me passing it out to men, not seeing me passing out to the whole room. So once we got home, it was a big argument, a big fight about that, and I also wanted to sing with an artist, and I did audition and I sung background for her. So he came to the actual event that I was singing and told her at the end that I will no longer be able to sing with her because it's going to be one star in the family. And she was like, well, and then I'm sorry, I have to let you go because I can't have that type of situation, a boyfriend, girlfriend, situation within my organization. And that was, really sad because that's something that I like to do. And when we went home, he said, you're not going to sing anymore. There's only one star in the family, and that's going to be me.
I thought if you were married and if you have a good life, a good career and everything, that could never happen to me once again. So I set up these ideas inside of my head that if I achieved certain things, if I broke the curse of lack of education, I went on to college, graduated, I thought that all those things would put me in a place of safety. However, when I was married, um, I I found myself in a situation where I was an executive. I was making great finances, all of that. I was married to a man who I thought was the cream of the crop. And when I became pregnant early on in that marriage was the first time that he had abused me after being together 4 years.
I noticed the relationship changed. I think mine was more probably on a cheating level, and once he probably started to cheat or found another relationship, he started changing. It was almost like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of relationship after the end. So that was my story.
Because he was an entertainer as well. So I did end up leaving him because we did go to counseling over the years. I ended up leaving him, and he found me. He said, he's sorry, let's get back together. So we did, got back together. And then one particular time where it was the worst, we got on the freeway, and I said, you know what, it's not working out. My kids are scared. They're crying all the time, and I'm shaking, I don't know, walking on eggshells, and I can't take this anymore. My life is more than just this. And we were on the freeway, the Davidson freeway. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And we had an argument. I told him I was leaving. He pulled over on the freeway and he commenced to beat me up on the freeway. As cars was driving back and forth, he just, was welling on my face, just hit with his fist over and over and over in my head. At that point, he got back in his seat, pulled over, and I was trying to jump out the car. I had my purse on the ledge, so he ended up pulling over on Ewald Circle. If you know what that neighborhood is, I'm unfamiliar, but I ran out of the car in the gas station and asked to call my family. At that time, I had a real bad headache and seeing blood like everywhere on me. I didn't know where it was coming from at the time, so they let me call my family. I ended up walking to Livernois in Davidson. It's like a flower shop. And he followed me in the car and it's like, get back in the car. I'm like, no. I said, this is it. I'm bleeding. I don't know. My head is hurting. Where it's coming from. It took about 2 hours for my family to come and find me because my grandmother was so nervous, forgot the location. And as cars was driving past, police officers driving past, and they see this one lady sitting there crying, blood everywhere. Nobody stopped. Everybody just pretty much looked at me.
And once you have been physically abused, you come up with something. That it's not normal. And after experience the first slap, forgiving and I'm sorry, you say okay because your goal more so is family, not the situation. So you kind of overlook the situation because my goal was to grow up with my children having a father in their life because my father wasn't in my life when I was younger. So my goal was to have a father, have my children with their father. So I guess the tolerance level. I had a sense of tolerance for it, initially at the beginning until probably after the third draw. I think that was it.
9 to 10 months after dating him, at that particular time, I did not know, but that I was being controlled to the point of my dress changed. He would like to see me in certain outfits. He would purchase things for me. Or he would say, why don't you wear your hair like this or wear your hair like that? And I didn't realize at that time in the relationship that was just the beginning of starting to be controlled.
One acceptance just led to a series of abuse. I remember being pregnant and being in the bed late at night when he was on the late shift, on the graveyard shift, and I'm a sound sleeper, and him coming in dragging me out of the bed and just stomping me, literally trying to stomp my stomach as if he was trying to kill my baby. I remember running to the bathroom just trying to just flee from getting beat. And the one incident that stood out to me the most was I made it to the bathroom, not that the door was secure because it was wooden. But I'm thinking of myself, I have my body pressed against the door of the bathroom. And I'm thinking, he's not going to come in here. I have the door locked. He's not going to kick the door off or anything like that. And all of a sudden, with my body against the door, he had Ginsu's Japanese swords. He stabbed the sword through the door. And it came within inches. I mean, it literally went through my house dress and out next to my stomach. Just an inch more. I wouldn't be here to tell the story, and neither would my beautiful daughter. My daughter, that I realized he was seeming on a mission to kill her or something. It's ironic. Today is her birthday. And today she's 28 years old. Today she is a phenomenal young woman. She is a great part of me. And I thank God every day in thinking of that incident and how remembering that hole in that door. That served for me a reminder, because we stayed in that house until the day I finally had the courage to leave him. I looked at that door every day, and we didn't get that door changed. And I saw the hole in that door, and it reminded me every time of what danger I was in. Anytime he would woo me or swoon me into thinking, I'm sorry, I never do it again. And I passed to go in that bathroom. We only had one restroom. I would go and I would look. Sometimes I would get stuck and look at that door. It would be my trigger. And that's what really drove me.
I was in a relationship before the physical abuse. I was actually in a relationship for about 3 years before the abuse started. So after maybe the second year, and I think I endured it for maybe a couple of more years. So it wasn't nothing on a regular, but it was here and there. So at that point, you didn't know when to expect it, because mine wasn't like something it was an escalating of argument or anything like that. Mine was more so, it just happened. And, I'm like, wow, so that kind of like took me in another mindset.
Found out about him because I got pregnant, and he eventually, we had to meet up. He was about 7 years older than me, which was still a lot with my, being 17 at that time. He had a lot more worldly experience than I did. Once again, I said I was a sheltered young lady that didn't really know a lot about, worldly life. So it was kind of easy to be swayed and swooned, and that's what happened. My parents found out about it probably when my son was maybe about 6 or 7 months old. I had a black eye. I was hiding it with glasses. My mother was like, you know, you haven't been over. You know what's going on. We haven't seen you. I stayed away. I didn't want my family to know about it. I had older brothers. I had cousins. If they had know anything about what was going on, he would have been dealt with.
You know, I'm smiling now, but because I'm a happy person, but family felt like, you know, he was a good guy because they never saw the other side of him, because that's why I call it like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of relationship, because when I got the physical abuse, it's kind of like he kept me like kind of away from the family. I had a couple of family members that knew, you know, that I reached out to, that I talked to about it. I think maybe his parents could have known, but they never actually had a conversation with me about it.
I remember him, now that I think back, I remember the time when he felt probably threatened that his power and control was going to be lost because I was having this child. I can't even imagine what was going through his head, but now I understand that he was in fear that our life was going to change. You know, our traveling, our things we did together. Now enter in this little person that he knew how much I loved him and showered him. I guess he imagined that this all was going to go to this child now. And it was. But they feel like they can't share. They don't have room to share. What about me? It's a selfish thing. And it's a powerful, controlling feeling for them to know that they have you at their every beck and call and whim.
Domestic violence is a silent killer, because when we were discussing did anyone know, and most people are ashamed. They don't want to let the cat out the bag pertaining to the other person, trying to guard them or protect their image, or things of that nature, or to protect them from being harmed, because if you told your father or a brother or something, what their response would be. So you're protecting your family, and you protecting him at the same time. And domestic violence, I think the more you speak about it, even around your oppressor, I think it's lighter, because they start noticing that you're identifying this and you're not accepting to it. And to have somebody that you can it's like letting it be known, because you can go and get some help, get some support. I didn't know anything about a safety plan. I didn't know anything about who would listen, or because some family members thought he was a good father, you should stay in that relationship. That's not a big deal. Maybe make a justification for him, but I could have died in some of those situations. I could have died in some of those situations. So for me to think about that, my main thing is people should be able to have an outlink, somebody that they can go to that understands, or to support them in the relationship, so they can have some type of counseling or advocacy about it, because that's something that everybody don't know about it, but they're knowing now because it's more in the public sector. So now it's more publicized, but back in the days it wasn't publicized. It was like almost like a normal thing, or it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'm by myself. This is not right. People shouldn't just drive past someone that's going through something. They see them bleeding, or they see them on the ground, they're hungry. They shouldn't do that. But I experienced that once. I see it all the time, and it happened to me. So my family finally picked me up. We went to the police station, and they asked me did I want to file a complaint. At that point I said no, and they was like, why? I said because he had a son that he raises. And they said, well, that's not cool, let me talk to your family. So they went and talked to my family, and he came back, the officer, and he was like, you're bleeding, you need to go to the hospital. And I said, I know, I got a really bad headache. So he asked me, he said, congratulations. And I said, for what? And he said, I just heard you graduated from business school yesterday. And I said, I did. And he said, so tell me what type of business you want to open up. And I said, a battered women's shelter and a resource center. He said, wow, How was that, and what type of example would you be to women if you don't want to file charges on this man? And I said, you're right. And he was like, well, it's too late. It's the state against him anyway, whether you want to do it or not. So I pursued it. I did fight it. He did hire a lawyer. I was my own lawyer. I prayed about it. I mean, I went to work. He came to my job, showed up, and I went back to work the very next day because I had children to raise. I had knots all over my head. I had black eyes. My eyes were both red because my eye vessels, he broke my eye vessels. I had stitches in my forehead, underneath my eye, and ended up I had a crack in my skull. So then I had to stop working for a minute because I was getting very bad headaches and the lights and everything would bother my eyes. So I had to stop, and it was so bad because my kids had to literally take care of me for them whole 2 years. He does not realize the impact that he has done to me over the years. And it's been rough. It's been hard, but I fought to be where I am right now today, to make sure that if God let me live, which I asked God to let me live, I asked God to bring my face back to wherever you wanted to come back to be, that I will most definitely, before I die and leave this earth, I will be a mouthpiece for women, children, men, whoever is going through domestic violence, to let them know love do not hurt.
For some reason, I found out, when you really truly find out that you are a victim of domestic violence, you try to protect the person, um, especially if you've been brought up to be a nurturing person. You try to protect that person. Oh, well, I don't want anything to happen to him. Maybe his childhood was hard. I can, change him. I can show him love. I can show him affection. And that's just not how it is. It's not your problem as to how somebody deals with their demons, and I think a lot of people probably make that same mistake, especially younger ladies that feel that, okay, well, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I made him mad. Maybe I need to change this, or maybe I need to change that.
You shouldn't judge your friend or your family member, because we always say the hashtag why you stayed, put a nail in it, or you should have just left, you better than me, come up. If I was you, I would. That being said, if you know someone that's in that situation, I just feel like you should be a listening ear first. Don't prejudge the circumstances, because everybody's situation is different from someone else's. And you be the person to go out to find the information and gradually give it to them. I know this place where you can go. I know this place where we can just go out, or even invite them out to an engagement, because some, like, we had a play, No Place to Go. It was just a play, but in that play it was about domestic violence circumstances. So you can seek out different places and different events to try to bring them in that atmosphere, so then they can feel like, oh, okay, so I'm not by myself.
And I saw that face. I saw that beast behind there. I saw that uncontrollable, and it's not anger, because anger leads a person to beat up everybody. It beating you up, him up, her up, it up, anything. They have no control. It's not anger. It's power and control. If a person wants to control you, that's a sheer sign. And that's something to watch for. Want to control who you with, who you talking to, why you got to be with her, who you're on the Facebook with. Oh, let me see your phone. They might do it in a sweet way. Oh, what you doing? Or watching you, and little things like that. That's power and control.
When you first see those signs and you got that gut instinct that something is wrong, it's wrong. When you see that someone wants to change you for who you are, I mean, it's nothing to say that what you're doing is wrong as a woman per se, because we wear a lot of hats. I mean, we wear several hats. We work hard, take care of our children, but then we also take care of the men sometimes. But love does not hit. Love does not hurt. Love is just love. It's just so free to give. And in a relationship, if you see that and you don't see a common bound where we both can agree to disagree, and it's always arguing, it's always strife, it's never no peace within your household, you gotta leave. You gotta know that your life is worth more. To just be there and take beating upon beating, upon upon arguments, and then you look at your children. A lot of times we just think that we need to help, but then our kids, you ask, why are they lashing out at school? What's going on in the household? It's because of what the parents are going through. It's because what you're taking your children through, that they're becoming a bully now. They're fighting, they're acting up, they're lashing out because there's no love within the household, and they're afraid for their mother and their father. And then you end up, your children trying to help you, and end up killing someone, killing the victim, and now they're in jail. So it's like a domino effect. You have to really think about your children when you're coming into relationships. If he can't take me, me and my children are a package deal. You know, and it's hard to say that you really have to soul search and really have to know a person to really get in a relationship. So when you see those signs and you know it's not right, put it all on the table. Let's talk about things that's going on with you. You know, you don't want to come into a relationship with baggage. If you got issues, you got problems, and you know that, don't put it out on someone else. Go get the help for yourself first.
Just get a listening ear that they can confide in you more, because if they close themselves off, then they can wind up deceased. Death can arise, and no one would know till after the fact, and now it's too late.
Well, my son was one. By this time my son was one. And we had got into a really big argument this day, and he wanted to go out and I didn't want to go out. And he wanted to go out and I didn't want to go out. So he went out with some friends, and I, got a little over, drinking and different things like that. And he called and said a few words here and a few words there, and it was just a lot going on. Actually, really previously, the day before, we had fought. It really wasn't a fight, because I would be more so trying to protect my face and protect myself. And I just started, praying and crying out to God and telling him, I want to get out. I want to get out of this relationship. I can't be with my family like I used to. I can't be with my friends like I used to. I'm not able to do a lot of the things that I want to do because he doesn't want me to be around other people. And then I didn't want other people to see my eye or my face or marks on my body, or different things like that. So I would stay away until I heal up, and then I'd go around and be just as jolly as if nothing happened. And I just started praying to God. I'm like, I want to get out. Help me to get out. And that evening when he went out with some friends, little did I know, that he was going to get a hold to something bad. Somebody put something in his drink and this and that and the other. And, eventually, without going into everything that happened, he passed away from that. And that is how I got out. Not the way that I would have wanted it to be, but that's what ended up happening. That's how I got out.
First person in my family line to get an education. I passed it up down in Memphis to flee when I didn't want to be a part of abuse. But this time I chose to fight. And that day almost costed me my freedom, because when I went to leave, the beast rose up again, and I defended myself, and I almost killed him. And I thank God that didn't happen, because I wouldn't be here to tell the story. I wouldn't be here to have been there for my daughter, to raise her, to have a 23-year marriage that is wonderful, a husband that loves me, children that love me, a family that supports me, friends that would nominate me. I wouldn't be here to tell this story. In the end, I knew that I was not alone. I was never alone. In the attic, now I know it. I was running so long. I sit here, I know it. I know it now because God was with me.
Someone that's in a domestic violence situation that's like straddling the fence on should I leave, should I stay, what about my kids, different things of that nature. I feel that your life is more important than a relationship. You can always get another relationship, you can't get another life. So if you feel your life is in danger with that person, that's a sign, because some people don't get signs. I didn't get a sign, and when I realized that this is something that might be consistent by me not having signs, I said, let me go, because either I can harm that person or they can vice versa harm me. So I just say, talk to somebody, get some information, find somebody you can, prepare yourself a safety plan that you can leave and find a safe place to go.
Speak to them about it. If they haven't spoken to you, find a way to comfort them and let them know that you're there, that they are not alone. He kept me. He kept me through it all. So when I fight now, I fight not by myself. And when you fight, whoever you are, inside of there and out there in that world that's facing or going through that, you're not alone. Just make a call. Ask somebody. Because God will not let you have more than you can bear.
My name is Nin Bailey, and I'm a survivor because I refuse to be a victim anymore.
My name is Georgia Cole, and I am a survivor.
My name is Shacrise Miles, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. Speak not beat.
My name is Elisa Rencher McGlockton, and I am a survivor of domestic violence.